It's time for the match preview. This week, we're going to be talking about Luton Town heading up to the Stadium of Light Wednesday night to take on Sunderland. And with me to discuss the ins and outs of this game is my co-host. It's Mark Ryman. How are we getting on, Mark?
Yeah, good. Heading up. Hopefully staying up. It's going to be tough.
Oh, don't get ahead of yourself, Mark.
Oh, I'm really not. Yeah, it's gonna be tough. It's gonna be very, very tough and very, very cold, I reckon, as well.
Yeah, it'll be a cold one. Hopefully, the players are ready for it, because they're gonna have to bring their A game. They really will. But look, there hasn't been a game since last time we did one of these. So, what shall we recap? Shall we recap the week of Bloomfield's intensive training with the players, or shall we duck straight into the team news? What are your thoughts?
Well, I think we could talk about signings, or how we think we're likely to go in terms of the players that will come in.
Let's jump into the team news then. We'll forego the recap this week because we've had a sort of bye week, haven't we? So It's time for the team news. So for the team news, we got to wait for Rob Edwards to... Rob Edwards? We got to wait for Matt Bloomfield. Oh, God, get out my head, Rob! We've got to wait for Matt Bloomfield to let us know who is in, who is out. But right now, it looks like Reece Burke, he's out on the grass, but who knows when he's going to return. Maybe he'll be back for this one. Shander Baptiste, his face just annoys me right now. He's a wage thief. And Tahith Chong, no idea when he's back. Ted Mengi and Tom Lockyer, both long-term absentees. But we got a lot of new signings to bed in, specifically Lassie Nordas.
Yeah, I don't think he'll get near the starting 11 personally. Coming from it, basically he's had no pre-season yet, considering when he finished in November, December. I think attributes-wise, there's a lot to be excited about. He's clearly one we're going to develop. Let's hope he did what Adebayo did when he came in and sort of impose himself quicker than we probably anticipated, a bit like Mengi as well. Like, we thought we were going to spend a long time developing and ended up actually being the perfect replacement for an out-of-form James Collins. That would be great because, we need a striker that can find the back of the net consistently, and we've not had it this season. So I don't see him starting personally, or maybe even on the bench, but maybe he will be. I do think, though, that we will see a fair amount of new signings in the team. I'd be interested to see whether Cal makes an appearance or whether Doughty plays left back. For me,
a longer appearance than the last.
The couple of minutes. I meant really in terms of starting, but I think if I was to bet, I think you maybe keep to the same back two in the middle, unless there's, as you say, Burke might change things slightly, but even then, McGuinness I thought was excellent against Sheffield Wednesday. I don't think Mads Andersen did a whole lot wrong either. He didn't do a whole lot wrong against Millwall, apart from the pretty fatal mistake that he made leading to their goal. It wasn't the worst mistake we've seen defensively, but again, that's not saying much. I think Doughty will probably go back to left back now. We've got Ali, and Ali will go as the left winger, and then Jones as the right winger, and Asgard in behind. And then it's really then who accompanies Asgard in midfield that for me is going to be interesting, and who they play up front. But I think they will. I think he'll start with quite a lot of the new signings. He's had the time, hasn't he, to bed them in. I'm really excited actually to see Ali start with Jones on the other side. I think that would be a really, really exciting combination. Both quick, both want to run at people, and lots and lots of positive things from those two, and both willing to get balls in the box as well. So there's lots to be excited about. Who knows about the other two midfielders?
That's a good shout. Ali, Jones with Asgard in the middle.
Yeah,
I'd have Fanny and Nakamba in the middle, to be honest.
Yeah, me too.
I don't think Clark can play in a midfield 2 double pivot. I just think he can't because he keeps bursting forward. He's not defensively good enough. You'd want him in the 10, but then you lose Asgard and his abilities. I think Jordan Clark has just been scarred by the last year of football. Really, he holds onto the ball for too long. He doesn't shoot. He's not the same Jordan Clark that he was in our promotion season, not at all. One too many touches. I agree, Mads Anderson didn't do too much wrong, not at all. It's a shame, him and McGuinness, not a lot of pace. Fullback is the problem. If we can put Doughty back at left back, then potentially that resolves one of the problems, really. Having someone relatively senior there. Right back is still a problem. Walters, Hashioka, don't know. I'd feel better
Hashi
if
for me.
Burke was there. Yeah, Hashi,
Yeah.
he's probably the more experienced of the two. Better defensively.
Yeah.
Walters making the fatal mistake of not bringing down the Sheffield Wednesday player as he was charging into the box. Up front is the problem, though, because, if you have Ali and Jones whipping in balls or running at the defence, but then you have a striker who's just too scared to put his head on it, or Morris, who his performance against Sheffield Wednesday, other than the assist, wasn't too great. Nordas, I think he gets on the bench. Elijah Adebayo not even getting a minute on the pitch against Sheffield Wednesday, especially when Morris was knackered, is very telling. So I guess we'll have to see. And look, Woodrow's not around anymore, and neither is Taylor. So that spot on the bench is up for grabs. So Nordas could be there, get a couple of minutes. Yeah. Like this can be his pre-season, although you normally want pre-season to be happening not when there's only like 15 games to go in the season.
Yeah, and away at Sunderland. What a start.
Exactly.
I mean, in a lot of ways, he holds the ball up well. He's tall, target man. It's the kind of thing that you want playing against that kind of team. I mean, they are a much, more a taller defensive outfit than they were when we played them in that second leg of the playoffs, as they showed at Kenilworth Road this season. But yeah, no, I get your point. I think probably Eli wasn't played a minute because there was lots of transfer speculation during the rounds, wasn't there, at the West Brom? I think when they got the lad from Spurs on loan, I think that probably died down a little bit and assess it again. But yeah, I mean, neither of them, pick your choice, neither of them in any kind of form. Probably Morris slightly more so, but the last two games has been really poor. Let's hope, though, with more of that service coming into the box, that he only has to get on one of them and it starts his form off. Who knows? We've said that a lot this season and it's not come to fruition. But I don't see anyone else apart from Morris or Adebayo starting the game, at least.
Starting from now. Maybe we'll see Chris Makoso on the bench as a defensive option, specifically because we have no other real defensive options outside of Mads Anderson. Tom Holmes has gone out on loan, so maybe Chris Makoso steps into the breach.
I think on the optimistic side, you would hope that Tom Holmes went on loan, and that looked like it had been done before deadline day. The rumours were doing the rounds a couple of days before. You'd hope that at least Reece Burke is close, and maybe Mengi's closer than we think. But that's the hope. That's me being optimistic.
Yeah, well, the word is that Mengi will be back for March. That could be too late. I guess we'll see. But the problems are in the fullback sections. But hopefully moving Doughty left back, and we've got players that can play on the left. You've got Bowler. We didn't even mention Bowler. Bowler can come in and do a job for Isaiah Jones. He can do a job on the left as well in place of Ali. Hopefully it gives Jacob Brown a bit of a kick up the arse, because Jacob Brown's been absolutely
terrible.
pish. He's been terrible. To be honest, every single player that even touched the Premier League has been abject.
Yeah.
Don't know if it's a case of they've got PTSD, they bought their own hype, who knows, but they've all been absolutely piss poor the whole season. And if we go down, fingers get pointed Rob Edwards did this, but it's the players that sort of carried this out. No leaders in the dressing room who have actually no one. Well, leaders in the dressing room should have been like, right, lads, this is not good enough. Sort it out. But no one's done that. No one's grabbed it by the scruff of the neck. Maybe now Naismith's back. That there'll be a bit of that. It's like, why are you lot so shit? You should stop being so rubbish. Maybe. Who knows?
It's just complacency, isn't it? I mean, it's just felt like for so long, people just within the dressing room, within the club, just expected things to just get better as time went on without really doing anything active to try and change things. Oh, well, it was a crap result, but we'll be better next week. I mean, yeah, let's not go back over old ground, but how many times had players and Rob turned around and said, we need to learn from it, etc. So it's that complacency. And you're absolutely right. There's not many players from the Premier League season that come out with any kind of credit. I'd probably put Kaminsky as one of them. I know he's made mistakes this season, but generally I don't think you could level a lack of effort at him. Those mistakes are based on his own shortcomings as a keeper, which we knew about before we bought him, and maybe Reece Burke. I mean, he's injured all the time, but when hasn't he been? That's not really his fault. It's frustrating, but he's been good most of the time when he's played. So, yeah, there we go. Everyone else, can absolutely do one.
We can do a chant about Reece Burke. Reece Burke, he's injured all the time, injured all the time, injured all the time.
That's
right.
It. Yeah.
That'll catch on, won't it? Let's have a look at some... Shall we have a look at some previous encounters?
Yeah, go on then.
Let's do it. As always, if you want to look at the previous encounters between Luton Town and Sunderland, make sure to check out hattersheritage.co.uk. The link is in the description below this video. They have every single meeting between Luton and Sunderland going back to, well, pretty much since the first time Luton and Sunderland played each other. They have great pictures that you've probably never seen before, match reports you've never read before. So check it out. That's hattersheritage.co.uk. As always, I'm going to ask you, what's the spread? So I'm using FOTMob here, not Hatters Heritage. So instead of the 80 meetings, I've got the benefit of 7 meetings here. What's the spread?
I mean, we've met a few times, but not a huge amount, I suppose, in recent history, but lots of draws. So 7, I'm going to go 3 draws. 2 Sunderland wins and 2 Luton wins. That sounds a bit too biased towards Luton, but yeah, I'm going to go with that all the same. 3-2-2.
So close.
Is it?
4 draws, 2 Sunderland wins, 1 Luton win.
Yeah, okay, yeah, that makes sense now. As soon as I said 2 wins, I was like, actually, I can't think of more than one. Yeah, okay.
We got the win that mattered.
Of course.
The turnaround at Kenilworth Road. It was a tremendous night.
What a night.
Yeah. Sorry, that's
just singing today, aren't you?
I know. You never know. It was 9:30 at night. And
on a Sunday.
Since 5 o'clock. On a Sunday.
You think it's bad listening, everyone? I've got him in my headphones. Direct.
But anyway, because we've done our memorable fixtures, and obviously it's the playoff final, the playoff semi-final done. So let us know your memorable games against Sunderland in the comments below. One that does stick in my mind was final game of the season. We were going down from the Championship; they were going up, and they had Carlos Edwards. They signed him off us, and there were so many Sunderland fans.
That Roy Keane
home section. Yeah, Roy Keane was manager.
Yeah.
Loads of Sunderland fans in the home end. Disgraceful.
Yeah. No, I'll try to block that from memory.
Yeah, exactly. Forget about it. Right. Let's forget about it and kick it over to Phil, who's been meeting with the opposition. Take it away, Phil.
Thank you, Ollie. Thank you, Mark. And welcome to everyone to the opposition preview. Today, I've got Paddy Hollis. Paddy is an independent writer, but he also does stuff for the Roker Report, which is a hugely subscribed to Sunderland fan pod. And it's going to be really interesting to talk to him. They've played twice since we last played. They played on the Monday after we played on the Saturday afternoon. So they'll be probably, I would argue, less fresh than we are, but more in match fettle than we are. They've had a wonderful win against their northeastern rivals, Middlesbrough, and then they, truth be told, they scraped a draw against our rivals Watford. Didn't ever feel like Watford were going to get in it, but a penalty and a wonderful goal from Imran Louza meant that they went 2-1 ahead before Sunderland pulled it back. And truth be told, I was watching the game and thought that Sunderland could very easily have won that in the dying seconds. They had a couple of one-on-ones that Watford's new goalkeeper managed to keep out and thwart them. So we could be sitting here talking about Sunderland that are not 7 odd points off the top. They could have been simply only 4. So it's these fine margins in this league that we know and love that really make the difference. But as for Luton, we've had a little bit of a break. Hopefully some of our new players will have bedded in, which I'm sure that Ollie and Mark will have discussed in our part of the preview. But here's what Paddy had to say. So everyone, as promised, I've got Paddy here. Paddy, it's really, really good to see you again, mate. It's been a fair few weeks since we last spoke, but our seasons have gone in very, very different directions. I was just saying to you off air that the last time we spoke, Luton played quite well, and then you beat us. So it was a bit of a kick in the nads, that one, because it was a really, really good performance from Luton, and individual brilliance saw you over the line. And it's a theme that I was going to speak to you about, actually, Paddy, about individual brilliance, because I feel like of all the Championship sides, you've got some really, really exciting players. And when we last spoke, we were talking about Mundell, and he ended up curling one into the bottom corner against us. So that was an unwanted bit of a bit of prediction skill from my end. But you've gone ahead and you've bought some excellent players, and the main one that most people are talking about is Enzo Lefebvre. And for me, it's obviously capturing the signing of Isidore permanently. I think is a wonderful, wonderful piece of business from you guys. So what's the sort of general vibe as a Sunderland fan at the minute? Is it excitement? Is it nerves because you just want to sort of hang on in there? What it's a bit of a weird one, but how's things?
I mean, from my perspective, it's been a brilliant season. It's been really enjoyable. There's been some frustrations the last couple of home games, especially because we've drawn 2-2 last 2 home games. One of them being against Plymouth, who we went behind, and then we went 2-1 up, and then they equalised in the 90th minute. And it's been a bit of an annoying trend at times this season. We have conceded a lot of goals late on, but we have also won a lot of points in the last 5 minutes. So it does balance itself out. But obviously, you always remember, like, conceding late is always remembered more than scoring late, to be honest, because it's just more annoying, really. But no, I mean, it's been brilliant. Only 4 defeats the whole season. Still unbeaten at home. I thought that record was going to go on Saturday. We left it late to get a point.
Well done, by the way. Well done.
I mean, it was a point we didn't deserve, to be honest. For large parts of that game, we were second best. But it's the kind of mentality we've had this season. At full time, it was annoying because we had chances to then win it in injury time. But I look back, and if that game was last season, we'd have lost it 3 or 4-1. I think it just goes to show the difference in mentality we've got. And, we've been so dead set on keeping up with the teams above us that we've made this massive gap to the teams outside the playoffs, which I think is just as important, because the last thing we'd need is, if we were to trip up, which we still haven't really done this season, we still haven't had a run where we drew a few games. It was like 5 in a row, and that was just a weird run. But we haven't lost back-to-back games. Whenever we've lost, we've bounced back with a win straight after. So yeah, it's good mentality, and to be honest, it's been brilliant. I mean, I think I probably said this back in October. Like, even at that point, it was exceeding expectations, and there was part of me at the back of my mind just kind of thinking, we might drop off, we might fade, we might sort of end up being around sort of like that 5th to 8th mark, like battling for maybe the last 2 playoff places. But we've kept it going, and we've played some brilliant football this season, and it's been really enjoyable to watch.
I mean, you're firmly in that mini league of the top 4, aren't you? I think your season started unbelievably strong, and then you've had the sort of the big boys that have come after you in terms of Burnley have obviously got their act together, and I mean, I'm not saying that they started slowly, particularly Burnley, but they just simply don't concede. And we were just talking again.
You just can't score goals against Burnley. We missed 2 penalties. It's like you can't.
I know.
You can't ask for a better opportunity, and we missed them both. But
I was going for you because I can't stand James Trafford. So I can't stand the guy, and the absolute housery that he was doing on the sideline by making Isidore wait, I thought was out of order, and he ended up getting plaudits for it. But that was a proper tough one, and it's interesting because you say about like drop points. I mean, you said the last 2 home games has been 2 all draws, and then you add that one into it. I mean, there's sort of a fair few points there, if not 4, if not maybe 6 points, sort of sitting on there. And at the moment, the gap's 7. So it's just a case of keeping tabs with them, I think. But you're like you say, you're well in there for the playoffs. I think it's just a case of making sure that you maintain form and go into, if it ends up being the playoffs. There's no shame in that, but it's also making sure you've got the form to go in with.
I think making sure that we definitely have the advantage of playing at home second, I think, as well, obviously, if it came to it. But, I mean, as you said, we've got 15 games left, and, I mean, anything can happen, really. It was annoying because we were the only one of the top 4 to not win over the last sort of few days, but we've had it before where we've been the only team not to drop points. So it's been that sort of, it's reasons like that why no one's pulled away, because everyone who's looked like they're about to pull away have then gone and dropped points, and everyone else has kind of made up ground on them again. But it's what makes this league so good. I mean, it's that last season, when you had like sort of Leicester flying away and Ipswich always kind of on course for promotion, it was a bit boring because it was kind of, you almost knew who was going to go up by sort of October. But this year, can't tell.
You're right. It's been brilliant, and obviously we do the championship chat on the OK Football Show, and it's great because this little mini league of 4, it is so important every week. You're all making sure that each other's standards are as high as they possibly can. So it means that it's a big loss when you do drop points. Like you said yourself, like you've lost 4 games this season in total. That's why you're still up there ultimately. And there's been times where I feel like Sunderland have scrapped over the line and just got those winning goals late and made the difference. So essentially, from my perspective, knowing that I've got no aim other than just to stay up this year, it's keep going, but not against us, Paddy. I mean, how do you think the game's going to go on Wednesday? Because it's under the lights up at the Stadium of Light. Obviously, you've got to go for it. There's too many points that aren't being picked up, like we said, from draws. So I'm guessing it's going to be all hands to the pump. But it's interesting. I was looking at the last time we played was the 1st of February, and you've played twice since then in difficult games as well. So it's going to be interesting. Do you think that it'll change it up, or do you think it's going to be a case of cracking on with what you've got?
I mean, I think he might be forced into changes because Chris Rigg went off injured. Don't know how bad that is, but he was. It was sort of a 50-50, and it was on his knee. But to be honest, it's a case of we don't need to keep on playing players like Rigg, because in that position we've got. It's one of the positions where we have plenty of depth. I'd like to see Enzo Lafay put in that position, because that is his main position. He's been playing on the left wing purely because Mundell and Tommy Watson have both been out injured for what seems like an eternity, to be honest. But Mundell he's back in training this week. I think the Luton game will probably come a bit too early for him. But obviously our next game after you guys is away to Leeds. So if we can have him available for that would be fantastic. Yeah.
I didn't know that, mate. You've just taught me something there. That was a big oof.
Yeah,
That
yeah.
one.
It's so we had Middlesbrough away. Then obviously our next away game was Leeds, and I know like a lot of our fans were saying, "Oh, we're going to get hammered because look at how we played against Watford and Plymouth." But we turn up in these big games like in Middlesbrough. When they were 1-0 up, I was thinking it's going to be another defeat at the Riverside, at a place where we just never win. But we came back brilliantly. It'll be the same thing for Leeds, really. But in terms of playing Luton, I think should be a couple of players come in. I'd like to see Mayenda come in because he's been on the bench in recent weeks. The last time he started, he scored the winner at Derby. He's a brilliant player. He causes all sorts of problems. I'd like to see him get another start. I think it'll be good to have him on with his pace alongside Isidore and Lefay as well. So I think I'd like to see us just play with the handbrake off a bit. We've got this bad record of, especially at home. I don't mind doing it away from home because it makes sense as an away team, but we'll go 1-0 up and then we'll just sit back. So Watford's first equaliser, so Watford's first goal on Saturday came from, we went 1-0 up and then we just kind of sat back, and Watford weren't really doing anything. Like, our keeper wasn't getting tested. We were sitting pretty deep, but we defended okay. And then the first shot on target leads to the penalty, which Watford then score from. And it's like, if we just, earlier in the season, we'd score the first goal and then just go for us. Like, we put 4 past Sheffield Wednesday, we scored 3 down at Portsmouth in the first half. Like, we come out and just we put our foot down and just kill teams off.
Yeah.
But we haven't won by 2 goals or more since October. I think it was Oxford and we won 2-0. I didn't realise it, but you look back and it's like we've had a lot of nervy endings to games where like we've got the wins, but we've not really finished teams off for a while. And I think
they were begging to be taken to the cleaners as well, weren't they? I felt like for the first sort of 20 minutes after your goal, you could have pushed on because it took about I felt like you it took you a while to warm up. I feel like your first 15 minutes of the game was a pretty slow start, and obviously it's a lunchtime kickoff. And this isn't me having a dig, by the way, because I know I'll get pelters for it. But it felt like, I don't know whether you have the same struggles as many sides do when it's the early game on Sky. It felt like the crowd was taking their time to sort of get behind the team and get an atmosphere going.
Yeah.
And then once you scored, it was like, right, go on and kick on, because Watford's away form is not good, and this isn't me just being a rival fan. That it's just simply not. But it was there, and then like you say, one innocuous cross and a good save, but obviously a Sirkin mistake, and then like I say, 5 minutes into the second half, you're chasing the game. So it's an interesting one to see at the mindset of it, and maybe that's nerves because you're going for those promotion spots. I don't know, but
I think it could be. I mean, I know a lot of it comes down to the fact that we have a young squad. I think there is a lot of mature heads there. I mean, our goalkeeper, he's made 150 appearances now. Our captain, Dan Neil, he's 23, but he's got 180 games under his belt. So, like, these players are young, but they're not inexperienced, by any means.
No.
It's a case of, I think we just need to kick on really at home, because we are still unbeaten at home, but it feels like we're kind of missing that sort of killer instinct in certain games. I mean, New Year's Day we beat Sheffield United and we were fantastic. A couple of days later we beat Portsmouth 1-0, but we could have been about 7. We had so many chances to finish it off, and luckily we didn't get punished then. But it's happened in other games. I just like to see us have that bit more of a killer instinct what we had earlier in the season, really.
We'll save it for the Leeds game, mate. It's one player that we haven't mentioned yet, and I wonder. I know that he missed out the other day, but is Job looking like he's going to be back for Wednesday? Bellingham, is he?
So before the Watford game, our manager said that he could have played, but basically we weren't going to risk it. So he said he'll be available for the next game. So unless there's any other setback, he'll be available for Luton. So I think that'll be one of the changes what we'll make straight away. I think he'll come in, Sam will be back on the bench, and then probably either Mayenda. I think Mayenda might come in for Rig, and then we'll have Mayenda and Roberts out wide with Lafay in the middle, in the 10 position behind Isidore, hopefully, I think, because I think until Mundell's back, I think that's probably our strongest front four.
Yeah,
I'd
no, I
imagine.
understand that. I mean, it's one of those things where when I saw Job at the home game, it's one of those ones where when you see big lads, and even though he's young, you see big lads in person. Luckily enough, last year I was obviously able to see a lot of Premier League players and the likes of Van Dijk and Konate, and you kind of go, bloody hell, like look at the size of him. And it is a bit like that with Job. Like you see him sort of in full stride, and you see him in front of your own eyes, and you think, crikey, this guy's got you need to go up to keep him. I think, Paddy. To be honest with you, I think that he'll be doing the off in the summer if you're not up in the Premier League.
Absolutely, yeah.
So it's important. It's important from that perspective that you get to go up. But final sort of thing, really, Paddy, is what do you think the score's going to be on Wednesday? Obviously, we've spoken about the context of it, and we've spoken about the fact that you're in the top four. You need to be going for it. Obviously, like form at home is excellent. You're unbeaten. What do you think the score's going to be?
I do think. Sorry to say this, but I do think we are going to try and open up a bit more, and I can see it being. Well, I'd want to say 2-0, but it's weird because we had a run of 3 straight clean sheets where we didn't look like conceding, and then last 3 games we've conceded 6 goals. So about a month ago, I would have fancied us to keep a clean sheet, but at the minute I never fancy us to keep them out. So I'm going to say, I think 3-1. I think this might be the game where I'd like us to just get a win under our belts going into that Leeds game, because I think our next game after Leeds is Hull at home, which, there's no easy games in this league, but that is another game where we should be thinking we should be getting 3 points there. But yeah, I think we're going to open up a bit more. I'd like to see us sort of start on the front foot and kind of start as we're meant to go on, because that would be nice, because we haven't seen that in a while. But yeah, just to get the 3 points really, and just keep in touch with the teams above us, because it's never ended.
Yeah, I mean, this is it. It's one of those. You said it earlier on. Like we've still got a third of the league to go. I mean, it's crazy how often these game weeks. I mean, this week we've not played Plymouth. Today is Sunday, and we've not played them, and they looked absolutely brilliant against Liverpool. And you can say what you like about Liverpool's lineup, but the point is that Plymouth looked really, really good. Their back line looked exceptional. You've got the likes of Derby that picked up a point yesterday. Hull have reinvested. It's a difficult time to be a Luton fan, because we've invested. We've got a new manager in place, as you know, but ultimately our away form is pretty hideous. So it's one of those ones where an unbeaten home record against a team chasing automatic versus us that need to scrape over that dotted line at the bottom, it doesn't bode particularly well.
In all fairness though, it's like we've struggled against teams in and around the bottom 6, especially at home this season. I mean, Plymouth, we were dreadful, although we conceded late on. If Plymouth should have been 3 or 4-1 ahead by the time we got our second goal. To be honest, we were okay against Derby. That was a 2-0 win. So that was fairly comfortable. Portsmouth, like I said, we didn't finish them off. So to be honest, I've always said if we are going to lose a home game this season, it will be against a team in the bottom 6 who are fighting for their lives and will be chucking everything at us to get the points. Against teams in the top 6, I mean, just looking at now, we've got Blackburn left to play at home, and we've taken points off every other team. We haven't obviously lost to anyone in the top 6, but if we are going to lose to anyone at home, I think it is going to be one of the teams fighting relegation, because it's just the way we seem to do things, to be honest.
You feel like sometimes you can get embattled in the quality of the opposition, if that makes sense.
I think it's that, and honestly, I hate to say it, but I think there is a sort of a bit of arrogance. I think especially Plymouth, there was an arrogance of we expected to just turn up and win, and obviously that's a dangerous mindset to have in the Championship, especially. So yeah, I like us to just not go in, just be confident in ourselves, but not get over complacent, because that's when it comes back and bites you in the backside.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. It's an old football adage, but you are right. It
Yeah.
is one of those ones where one game at a time. No disrespect to your opponents. Go ahead, and if you beat them, you beat them. But you can't beat them before you get on the pitch. So, well, Paddy, it's been a real pleasure to have you on again, mate. I really do appreciate it. Just before we go, if you're all right to just share your social media platforms and that, just in case anyone wants to give you a quick follow, following on from this interview, that'd be great.
Yeah, that's fine. So my Twitter, my personal Twitter is at Paddy Hollis 123. And Roker Report is just at Roker Report on Twitter. There'll be links to our website on there and our podcast as well. We might have one out before the game. I don't do the podcast, but we had a post-match one out today. With the game being on Wednesday, we might have one out. So obviously, if any Luton fans want to hear more of a Sunderland perspective, then that's the place to go.
So there you go, ladies and gents. That was Paddy. So he's predicting a 3-1 win for Sunderland. I think when you look at the context of where the two teams are, it's an absolutely understandable prediction. They're going for the automatic playoff places. Automatic promotion places. Never mind the playoff places. And Luton, we're struggling to get above a different dotted line, and that's the one above the relegation zone. So we'll see how it pans out. I'm excited to see what Bloomfield's done with the time that he's had on the training pitch and trying to bed in the new players. And ultimately, it's a start of a new dawn. Really, it's weird to say that 30 games into the season, and as much as I could have said that when Bloomfield started, I think Pelly leaving, whether it's on loan or not, I think that changes the entire culture of a club, and it's going to be really interesting to see how we do. What are we more focused? Are we less cohesive? I don't know. The proof will be in the pudding. But I see it as a bit of a free hit away to Sunderland. I think that if we can take a point away, like we did last time we were on the road, then you take it. I think that every point counts at the minute. You look at the likes of Derby, who got a late point against Norwich, and they're one of the teams that you're hoping to sort of drag into the situation and get on top of them. So we need to get every point that we can, and then we move on to the weekend against a difficult opponent in Sheffield United, which will be a real test. So I hope that we do something positive up at the Stadium of Light, and fingers crossed. And as always, come on you at us. Over to you, Ollie and Mark.
Thank you, Phil. Phil actually raised a good point there. So Bloomfield, he's got his men in. Pelly's gone. So how do you think that impacts us?
Yeah, I mean, you'd normally say it would do, right? Because he has been Luton Town through and through, and his positivity had been needed. But clearly, it's not been there this season. Been frozen out by Edwards since the start of the season with no clear way back into the side. And I don't know, but it feels like whatever positivity was there or impact that he would have had on the squad, it dissipated it much more this season. So it's really sad to say, to be honest, but I don't think it will make as much of a difference as it would have done any other season we've had him.
A lot of Pelly's boys had gone as well, like, like Potts, Berry, all his lads, they've all gone. But I guess we'll see. This is a new Luton, new manager, I believe, in what Bloomfield's trying to do. And let's see what happens, really. Right, Ryman, who's giving you sleepless nights?
Oh, God, how long you got?
Can you pick one? Yeah.
Not really. I mean, I'll pick Lefay if you like, because he's bloody ridiculous. I mean, it's just not fair. Isidore's scoring.
The team's
Patrick Roberts
ridiculous.
Great. Oh, their front three is incredible. Bellingham, who didn't even have that good a game.
In the team recently.
No, exactly. Their front three. Can I just say their front three, please? Their front three is terrifying. Yeah, that.
Not the front four. Like, you got Rig behind as well.
Rig, yeah.
Then you got Neil running in through midfield as well.
Yeah.
Mad.
Rig's a bit hot and cold, I guess, but when he does play well, I mean, obviously he scored a great goal at Kenilworth Road and just, look we know
he's only 17.
Well, exactly, but he's exactly that. But it's crazy how good their team is. But yeah, for Lefay to come in and be head and shoulders above that team just says a lot. Maybe Head and Shoulders
hell
is
of a
slightly harsh,
signing.
but I think he looked it against Borough. So yeah, one hell of a signing. We're gonna have our work cut out.
So shameless plug, check it out in the description. I talk about the race for the autos, and I mentioned that Sunderland did the business of the window signing Enzo Lefebvre. I think he's tremendous. I like the keeper, Patterson. I think he's tremendous. One of the best in the championship, easily. I'd say he could be better than Jordan Pickford, to be honest.
He just looks like a work experience kid. I just can't get my head. He just looks like a work experience kid. Every time it looks like he's just doing his work experience at Quick Fit. I can't get my head up. But yeah, he's a good keeper. He's a good keeper. Good at falling over and time wasting when it's needed. But I tell you what,
but you want that.
That's what we need. Some of that. No, I agree. Same as James Trafford. Those kind of players that have that cockiness about them. As you said, in very much the Pickford mould, isn't he? So yeah, he's very good.
From the same academy, so I'm not surprised. Yeah. Tremendous player. Great shot stopper as well. Yeah. To be honest, the whole team gives me sleepless nights. Right. Now it's time for score predictions.
Okay, I've gone for a 2-1 Sunderland win, which I think, isn't that surprising for people. And it's not necessarily going to completely derail things if it is. So I'm not going to say I'm going to be pleased with the loss at all, considering the position we're in, and lots of teams around us playing each other as well. I would say, though, if we do get something from the Stadium of Light, I think that almost is us on the route to staying up. I really do. I see it as that positive. It would put down such a massive marker. So I see this game as an opportunity, a massive opportunity. Yes, it's terrifying. Of course it is. I just can't see past how good their attack is, and how slow our defence is, despite it being good. And having someone like Doughty back there will give us a bit more speed out on the left. But yeah, 2-1, which I still see as being relatively positive.
So I'm building on what you've said. It is the start to staying up. It has to be. If we don't show something in this game, then we can be down, because it's Sunderland and Sheffield United. There's a lot of unknown quantities in this game. Like, we could start Ali, we could start Bowler, we could start Isaiah Jones, although he's had a couple of games. But look, at the Stadium of Light, they let Watford lead them for a lot of the game. Quick 5 goals sort of turned it into a Watford win, and then they nabbed the draw at the end. They looked shaky. They didn't look quite the Sunderland of this season. They could underestimate us. Plymouth went there and got something. We could get something. So I've gone 1-1 here. I think we could get something. We might even lead for quite a long period of the game, weather a storm, and then let them in and score at the end. I don't know, but it's not pure optimism. I've thought about it a fair bit. Obviously, there is some optimism sprinkled in there. I guess we'll see.
Well, as always, I hope you're right, and I get it. I do get the optimism. I think there's still a lot to learn from our away performances against Oxford and Sheffield Wednesday. But there was definitely some positives in both, and particularly attacking-wise in the Oxford game. I think there were times where we played some excellent football. I think Jones in particular, hopefully he's back from the family issues that kept him out of the last game. And, we've got some fresh faces going forward as well that won't have the fear that the players would have done previously. So I get it. I really do. Mine's based on the strength of that Sunderland team playing to their potential. But yeah, let's hope they don't, as they haven't always, as you said, and we can get something from the game.
Yeah, well said. I completely agree with you there. It's the fear. The fear has consumed the team. It's absolutely ridiculous that professional athletes have succumbed to fear. But look, we'll see what happens. That's us done. Remember, if you're watching this on YouTube, hit that subscribe button. If you're a Luton fan and you're not subscribed, hit the subscribe button. Loads of Luton Town content. If you're a Sunderland fan here, hit the subscribe button as well. There's loads of Sunderland content, championship content. You'll love it. You'll absolutely love it. And if you're listening to this on Apple or Spotify, follow the show so we can be in your ear rolls while you're on that commute to your job. Right. Well, I hope you all have a great beginning of the week. And as always, come on, you Hatters.